Welcome everyone back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Rose.
The roses.
With tea.
I think it's Tea. Alright. So,
Also,
the Rose Duelist, you dare to betray the hopes of Prince Yugi.
Lady, I was kidnapped against my will.
I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget.
The lesson of friendship.
Watch out, guys. Taya's about to teach us and school us in dueling.
Apparently, her character is the character she's supposed to be is Elizabeth of York.
Yes. Hold on, give me a moment on that.
Such sophisticated music.
Give me a moment on that too. You'll notice that she has a deck capacity of 933, and I'm using a deck capacity of 910. So again, remember, like Seto said, you have to have a deck capacity of inferior number to your opponent to capture his or her rose card. Taya does indeed have a red rose card, so we're gonna get it from her.
I won't lie, honestly, it is interesting how subversive things are about it, and I do like the protagonist's reaction, like, wait, you didn't go through with the prophecy even though we kidnapped you? How dare you, you villain!
Yeah, basically. Alright, since you're on the topic right there, want to tell us about Elizabeth of York?
I was just checking to see, let me see. She became eventually the wife of Henry VII, so she became essentially part of the Tudor family.
And remember, Henry VII is the one that Yugi plays, so yeah. So there you go. So there you go, everybody. Confirmation from this game that yes, these two are an eventual couple. That even though they don't actually show it. Go on.
Her first son was Arthur, the Prince of Wales, but died at age 15. So the family had to rely on the smallest, younger, male of the family, a certain kid which will become known as Henry VIII. Yeah. While the daughters instead will become respectively Queens of Scotland and France.
No, I love this also, but Elizabeth seems to have played little part in politics, but her marriage appears to have been a successful and happy one, so that's nice. So, okay. So, yeah.
Checking these the composers, why not? One of them is Waichiro Ozaki, which composed for most of the Metal Gear games starting with 3, so there's that. The other is instead Hiroshi Tanabe, but I don't really know, couldn't find much of this guy, so I don't know how much he composed. But yeah, you can tell that this is definitely different, because around this time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Music for video games were even in two categories. If one, that kind of occult ambient Egyptian stuff that we heard out, even in stuff like Forbidden Memories, or very energetic rock, which is still some of it's kept to this very day. Even if you've been playing, Master Duel or Duel Master, I forgot exactly how it's the name of the more recent free-to-play game. You will know that kind of vibe, but also the Tag Force games. This is clearly a legal difference on its own.
Okay, so Taya, as Jova already was kind of guessing, he's not a threat. Don't worry. She has no decent monsters. Her deck, just like just like in most other Yu-Gi-Oh games, her deck is more based around trying to increase her own life points to keep herself alive, and barely even trying to defeat you. As always, the video game uses her as a first opponent that's just there, so you can feel good about yourself by beating her, right?
Interesting how her deck master is Stone Tiger of all things. Oh, hello.
There you go. Remember when you attack.
Special animation.
Yeah. Remember, this is made by the Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories team, so they reuse a lot of the same concepts.
It's all interesting, however, how this was kind of basically the equivalent of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, Pre-Nocturne.
Unlimited power!
Well, a lot of monsters and cards that you will see only in 2D, now they gained full-on detailed 3D models, because the PS1 was still a bit janky, but it was revolutionary.
You can always skip those animations by pressing circle. So don't worry, you don't have to watch that every single time a monster attacks another monster.
Even in general, around this particular console generation, Konami was actually a bit pushing up its own range of APs. Sure, not everyone for the best, because we did got Frogger the Great Quest.
The GBA game?
No, the PS2 title. I think it was a GameCube version, but that one is terrible. Thankfully, again, watch Nitro Red's videos. He made a video retrospective on basically the entire Frogger franchise. He describes what was Konami's attitude. Thankfully, after the Great Quest, things got on a better track, but it was rough. But then we got stuff like,
you know, the GBA game. So that was, I feel like that was fine, but
that was done by Vicarious Vision, and that was okay. There are better titles, however. Hold on, sorry, go on.
So yeah, by attacking Skill Angel, I activated special ability, which spellbounds my monster for 1 turn. AKA Tea has gained herself 1 extra turn before she gets whooped.
But then there was also stuff like, you know, the Metal Gear sequels, which again were impressive how they looked on the console, and you know, the Bluepoint remasters do showcase how well they still hold up. And the Castlevania titles, the 3D titles, Lament of Innocence and The Curse of Darkness, also looked great on this generation. Also, Silent Hill 3 and 4 also looked great on this. So, all across the board for its major IPs, Konami was actually kind of on a roll. Again, it's the more tragic to consider the situation where they have been in for the past couple of years, and only recently are seemingly starting to get a bit out, and I say a bit. But it was interesting to see how in this particular era how we were approaching for their catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And even with this, which is technically a licensed stuff that they did add, although it is interesting to see how fiercely they have been holding the license since the very beginning. So, not letting someone like Bandai to actually have it. Although it was... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Go on, Joe.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
I was agreeing with you.
Right.
No, but also, in regards to Tea's deck, again, it has been a kind of a staple in most Yu-Gi-Oh! Games where she is basically your starter enemy, and she has one of the suckiest decks, mostly revolving around the small level fairy monsters like Tenderness. It's just...
Yeah, we already saw this animation, so I might as well skip it.
It's a shame, really, because, okay, there is this other mobile game which not many people talk about because it was one of the early games. It was still done by Averosha, mind you, before Duel Links. And it's called Duel Generations, actually. It's kind of a prototype for the game they released on Steam and consoles. I forgot what it's called. Generation of the Duelist, I forgot.
Duelist Generations, maybe?
I think it is, but whatever. The point is that, in a sense, that while not really having a story mode, it also uses a lot of, you know, portraits and singular duels that will either be incorporated in that game. And one praising thing about it is that the AI is programmed to be damn well good, and I'm sometimes a bit too much, because the game is programmed this way. You have 3... you basically make 3 matches, you don't need to win everyone in a row, mind you. 3 separate matches against a duelist which has a specific type of deck. In this case, again, as Big Tea, for example, she has that fairy, low-level fairy. So you basically steamroll through her. The other 3 matches, instead, will be having a different kind of archetype of, of a deck, which sometimes it's not something that the character will be associated with, but it's a, recurring archetype, and it's generally much, much more difficult to handle. In the case of Tea, she has the Madolce archetype, which specializes in swarming the field with monsters, which cannot really be destroyed because they actually have a gimmick where they return to the deck instead of actually being sent to the graveyard, which makes it much more annoying and kind of a nasty surprise to loot. Again, it's a nice time waster, and it is also free to play, but not many people play these days anyway because there are kind of better options. But it was still nice for what it needed to be.
I do appreciate this game for how very proudly unique it is from a lot of the franchise in that regard. Even right down to a different music style than what you usually get from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Just the premise alone is also bizarre. Instead of, again, Yu-Gi-Oh! I do always kind of. I think we didn't mention it in Ritual Destruction, but I kind of like the idea of the video game that instead of actually having to follow strictly the story of the product it's based on, it tries to do its own basically fan fiction about it. And this one takes it up to 11 basically. Again, just let's have Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters in the War of the Roses, because why the fuck not? Like,
I'd love if we actually got an anime series based off
World War II.
an historical one, like I don't know, maybe one based off Henry VIII.
Well, it's funny you mention that because we're dealing with the generation that came right before Henry VIII.
Also,
Yeah,
windmills. Weird.
We have Yugi as Henry the Seventh.
The
So
father.
there's gonna be Henry VIII.
Taya and
Okuba?
Well, how about this? If Takahashi ever writes any or makes anything involving Taya and Yugi having a child, then that character would by default become Henry VIII in this continuity.
I don't think Mokuba is in this game.
I'm sorry, what?
So there you go. Mokuba's going to go on
Is
to become
Mokuba
Henry
in-
Oh no, he is not.
Weird.
Okay,
Well-
Okuba is Henry VIII.
Well, let me see if Christian Rosencrow even had siblings. Let me see.
They could have easily just hand-waved it, especially because a couple of the other characters do not have, an historical counterpart anyway.
Most of them
That's the
do.
thing that I can't imagine Okuba ordering someone to be beheaded twice.
And then Seto has to tell him to shut up.
Yeah, imagine he'll one of his wives would die. He divorced two of them, but hey, at least one of them would survive his death.
Okay, according to
And then the others got their heads chopped off.
Yeah,
Okay.
I said beheaded.
Okay, so it says here that Christian Rosencrow's whole family was put to death by Conrad von Marburg, except for the youngest son, who was only 5 years old. So basically, he lost his entire family. So,
This continuity, Mokuba is fucking dead.
yep. There you go, too.
He'll never. Okay, that's the one thing. I won't give Okuba credit. I did like that one bit in Dark Side of Dimensions where he headbutted the main bad guy off the helicopter.
Smart move.
Dark Side of Dimension was made to
Yeah,
be
as you can see, this is Teya's primary strategy. Try to survive as long as she can and while still raising her life points. Hey Teya, you realize that at one point you're gonna run out of spell cards to increase your life points, right? This is
Maybe
not...
her idea is to try and get the other opponent to waste
This-
their cards.
This has been a common, not complaint, but a common problem with the card game for a long time, and more recently has been, the subject of discussion. The fact that life points, gaining mechanics are interesting on paper, but never seem to have an actual practical use unless you need to build a very specific, build about it. Like, say, one that allows the opponents to have more life points when you and then activate a specific card, like, say, self-destruct button, But at the point, you're just basically trolling. Or have a conjunction with a spell card like Bag Reaction to Simochi, which instead, allows to convert every life point gaining that your opponent can have into actual damage. So basically, you can use that excuse for extra burning damage. But again, that's just extra busy work that you normally don't need any other alternatives, in order to provide. Again, there are a couple of videos that do actually discuss this kind of mechanic, and I kind of do agree.
So
with
there you
that.
go, guys. In this game, Call the Hunter turns all your monsters into zombie-type monsters.
That
Okay,
is
that's-
not how it works,
that
and
is
it's
definitely
specifically
not
a
how it
trap
works, yeah.
card in the actual game. But hey, who's counting?
Yeah, there's also a bit of a correction from the previous part. Dragon Capture Jar, while still being a trap, it doesn't actually allow you to take control of Dragon Monster. It puts them in the defense position and they cannot actually, change position. So it's a bit similar to what it does here, but not completely.
Well, remember too, what it does here is that, well, hold on. Let's see what she does now. Nothing. Great. Okay, fine, I'll keep chasing your deck leader. There you go.
Till the end of time.
Eventually you'll be cornered. You can't keep this up, Teya. You know that, right?
She's
I
gonna
can't
teach you a
keep it.
lesson.
I have the power of friendship on my side.
Actually, no. That's reserved for protagonist, and you're not the protagonist in this case, so...
You're the literal definition of cannon fodder.
Hey, let's do more than most of the other female characters in later
He keeps
series.
going.
No, I'm sorry. Are you suggesting you've accomplished more than Alexis?
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. At least I accomplished my goal. What
Okay,
did
as
you
much
do?
as I'm not the biggest fan of the cyber skater, archetype it's much better for in terms of giving a set of cards to.
So Taya, what are you gonna do now?
Interested.
I literally got her cornered right now. So as a desperate measure, decide to attack my monsters. Okay. Have at it, Taya. All right. So let's see.
Why were our modern windmills in the field?
I don't know.
Don't you see, it's all part of the magic of the field. These cards told the future.
Yeah, the heart of the cards can predict the future.
Okay.
Honestly, that would probably be one of the more
Suddenly
mundane things
skeletons.
we've seen the heart of the cards.
Wait,
do.
that's the head huntress attack animation?
Apparently too.
Not what I was expecting.
Okay. Well. I guess the game just subverted your expectations then.
Oh no, she's called Warrior of Tradition here. It's weird
Yeah.
because is that a retrain? Let me see.
So what now, Teo? Okay.
I see.
Oh,
Interesting strategy.
that's because she's supposed to be the fusion monster that involves the head huntress.
Wait, she was originally a fusion?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Sonic made plus a beautiful head huntress. That's why I'm confused.
There you go. There you go. I literally have two monsters cornering her deck leader. She is literally fucked. She might as well surrender at this point.
Remember, Jova, similar to Forbidden Memories, this game also streamlines monster types into just one, basically.
All right, so Dancing Elf, aka it's interesting. She has Dancing Elf as her deck leader, and also she has more Dancing Elves in the actual deck. Interesting. Okay.
I see you're a fan of Warrior of Tradition to use.
Well, she's one of the better monsters you can get with a low deck cost at this phase. I mean, there's going to be points where I will show. Oh, she has Doma, the Angel of Silence. Holy crap! She actually has a somewhat powerful monster now.
Please tell me we'll at least be seeing you use Blackluster Soldier, because come on, you're in medieval times. You gotta show the main man himself.
Sorry, Jova. See the thing about Forbidden Memories and this game, Jova, is that there's little to no reason to try different cards. Just stock the most powerful attack monsters you have, and there you go. You've won. Like if you have blue.
I was about to ask about the same Forbidden Memories. Is the meta still Meteor Black Dragon?
Yes.
Of course.
That's the thing, that's the thing, Teo.
Than Blackluster Soldier.
That's the thing, Teo. The same fusion system from Forbidden Memories carries over to this game. So yes, Teo. Just like in Forbidden Memories, if you have a good number of dragon and thunder type monsters, fuse yourself into twin-headed thunder dragons, and you should be fine. So yeah.
All right, we're done.
Okay. So, I never understood this demotion system. I never looked into it, and I was able to complete the game fine without it, so whatever. Moving on. Okay, so when you beat an opponent, you can get a total of 3 random cards from the opponent's graveyard.
Nice.
In my case, I got 2 Dancing Elves and a Happy Lover.
What happens if you get the pictures lined up? Do you get a bonus or something?
I don't think so. Each individual slot is just for which of the free cards you get, really. That's really all it is. Anyway, I guess I lost. It pains me to know that I lack the strength to protect my lord and love.
That's alright, at least you played the game.
At least
sure, you're gonna lose the war and probably get executed for it, but at least you played well.
And we got a red rose card.
Yeah.
We just float.
Give me your rose
Alright,
card.
and our next opponent is...
Tristan.
Tristan.
Gray.
Go,
Tristan Gray.
Alright, Teo, go ahead.
Oh, and we're going to London, Dwibs.
Alright, so Tristan is the one defending London. Okay.
London's doomed.
Really, you don't have much faith in your own city, Dwibs.
Alright, so this...
Oh, okay. It's doomed if Tristan's leading it.
Well, Pedro is checking the manual and everything. Tristan is apparently based on Thomas Gray, the first Marquis of Dorset.
Yep.
So, Pedro, do ritual monsters still work weirdly in these games?
Yes, they do work. But again, that's the thing, Jova. Trust me. Here's what you do to win at either Forbidden Memories or this game, Jova. Trust me, it doesn't do you any good to try to find good ritual monsters. Instead, what you do, Jova, is you immediately start stuffing your deck full of thunder and thunder types and dragon types. Why? Because dragon monsters will fuse with practically anything, and if you manage to fuse 1600 attack or 1500, sorry, I think it's 1500 plus attack monster with a thunder dragon, you'll be able to turn that dragon into a twin-headed thunder dragon, which has 2800 attack points, meaning it's the strongest monster you can easily summon with low-tier cards. And once you realize that, there's no reason to do anything else, because that's the quickest and easiest way of winning at this game. That's the thing about these games. The thing about these particular duology is that these games encourage experiments. They don't, because it just boils down to brute force. That's all it is, really. Strategy very rarely comes into play in these duology, because as long as you have super duper strong monsters in your field, you're pretty much fine. There's some exceptions, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, yes, most of the opponents can be basically taken down by brute force. Just make sure you have stronger cards than them and you're fine.
Curious, does this game have a Dragon Master Knight in it?
I don't think so. Remember, this is from 2002, I think. So I
mean, Dragon Master Knight was a thing then.
2001 in Japan, September 6, 2001 in Japan. So we're still way early on.
That's the thing, Java. We don't know exactly when the final card lineup of this game was finalized. So for all we know, maybe they were making this game and weren't paying attention to the most recent cards. Who knows? There are multiple reasons.
Hey, Tio.
Yeah.
With a lot of these new Blackluster Soldier archetypes, do they make it so that you can summon these ones at least by just having Blackluster Soldier in your hand? Because given the nature of how ritual monsters work, I wonder.
You have to understand, Java, that
really
much like with a lot of cards that were clunky to summon, what they will do is to basically make retrains, as in like normal monsters that possess similar attributes, but they're much easier to summon on their own without having to use rituals.
Oh, that's the thing. A lot of these newer Blackluster Soldier archetypes I see still involve either fusing or synchronizing or doing the pendulum matter with Blackluster Soldier in some regards.
Again, you'll have to see for yourself, because it's kind of one particular archetype I don't really care about.
In the meantime, let's talk more.
Blackluster Soldier is awesome, though.
In the meantime, let's talk more English history. On the death of his stepfather, Edward IV, Thomas Gray proved unable to maintain his family's position. It was not possible to arrange a Woodville regency. Internal fighting, particularly the long-established battle for ascendancy in Leicestershire, I think, between the Gray and Hastings families, was now on the national stage. Richard III came to the throne. When the sons of Edward IV's bastardy was declared, the Gray family was aligned with Edward, which means basically Thomas Gray's family was fucked. Because
also, sorry, go on.
So basically, Richard III screwed over Thomas Gray, kind of.
Also, to answer a question from before, Java, the OCG original first release on Dragon Master Knight was in July the 4th, 2002. So, no, after the release of this game.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn it was at least a thing in the... Oh, wait, no, that was only in, like, the second season of the original show.
Oh,
third, because that was the card that was used. Okay, no. I got confused. With the 5-headed dragon that was used by the executives of Kaiwa Corp.
Check this out, Lips, because Thomas Gray was apparently a player, because he married a wealthy heiress to a rich family, specifically Lady Anne Holland, the only daughter of Henry Holland, the 3rd Duke of Exeter, whatever. His mother-in-law was the second. But however, after Anne Holland died young without issue, Thomas married secondly, and guess what? This second wife, with his second wife, Grey, he had 7 sons and 7 daughters.
Damn!
7.
Holy crap!
7's a lucky number. Well
Yes,
done,
but
Tristan.
7.
No, 14. 14 fucking children.
7 boys and 7 girls.
Well, there's a way of saying in my country that for a situation like this, we said they hadn't invented TV yet. They had to spend the night somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully they were a lovely, happy family that didn't come to a tragic end.
Well, let me see. Apparently, no. From what I can see here, apparently his social in love life was way better than his actual political career. So
Well, I guess he got to...
Mind you, apparently, as I checked here, the first wife died and he either married.
true, but
he had all those kids.
that is true too. Like he lost his first wife early, but the dude definitely rebounded back. Jeesh, like.
Well, Pedro, he had to mourn somehow.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what better way to get rid of the depression than to find love anew?
Exactly.
I think now we're about to confront Tristan Gray.
You mean Thomas Gray?
Like, dang, like, I mean, he may suck
All
at
right.
dueling, but it seems like he's got some other game.
Go ahead, Teo.
Hold it! You're the one they call the Duelists, right? If you want to go any further, you'll have to face me!
Man, Sam Riegel's never gonna live that
And my
voice down.
Crabwalker strategy!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing. He only did it for like a handful of episodes, and yet.
Thank Little Karibo for keeping that alive.
Like,
honestly, if it weren't for Little Karibo, people probably would have forgotten about that, honestly.
I activate Reborn the Monster to revive Tristan's original voice. Hey, I liked my new voice. People were starting to take me seriously. Sorry, Tristan, but it's much easier to make fun of you this way.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually kind of like those times in the abridged series where he references whenever a character had a sudden voice acting change. Like he did it recently. Like this most recent episode, he did it with when Mokuba got his voice change.
Mm-hmm.
Also, again, it's so sad that Tristan never managed to be kind of effective in the series until basically the very end. Sure, he did get some minor stuff to do in the virtual reality arc, but it was pathetic. He died.
I think the idea with Tristan was like, well, he wasn't the best duelist, but he could be the guy to take point in, like, you know, any of the physical stuff. A lot like the manga. Oh, the manga. Hey, Dwibs.
Yeah?
You know how Kaiba's kind of a sore loser in the anime?
Yeah.
Well, in the manga, let's multiply that by about 100. See, wanna know what he did in the manga? And mind you, at that point, he hadn't even lost to Yugi. He had gotten a tie with Yugi, if I recall correctly. But what happened essentially was that Kaiba was such a sore loser that he lured Yugi and his friends to the mansion as a supposedly fun playdate, which would in reality become a nightmare Saw thing, where he had them on a few stages. One stage is literally he hired some professional gunmen to shoot them dead. Second stage, he literally traps them in with a murderous serial killer. Third stage, he tries to have them crushed alive with a live game of Tetris. No, I am not kidding. Like, yeah, you can kind of see why he needed the mind crush in that sense.
As for this duel, as you can see, Tristan's field has a line of each various different individual types of terrain. You have a normal one, which is where I'm standing on. You have the meadow, then you have the forest, then you have a water, then you have rock, and then you have the dark line of field. So basically, it's good to bring a good variety of various different types of monsters, so you can take advantage of the various type of advantages you can get. Or you can just do what I do, and just and basically just fortify yourself in the specific meta that your monsters are stronger at.
Why did you have a copy of Mooing and Curry?
Because it raises my life points too.
By 200, I'm sure there's something better to use.
Well, there is, Teo, there is. But remember, I have to keep my deck cost lower than his to get his Rose card.
Was Poison of the Old Man, printed yet? Let me see.
You know how, the subject of Dark Side of Dimensions, as I mentioned it earlier. I love how apparently the dub actually apparently kind of improved on a few things over the original version of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, in a bit where Joey's stuck in the dark dimension.
Uh-huh.
Oh, in the original version, he's just running around panicking.
Alright, here's Arpy's Pet Dragon animation.
Arpy's Pet Dragon? Shouldn't you be in my Valentine's deck?
Well, Job, it's not like other people can't use it.
Oh god, what happened to the Camino?
Whereas in the dub, he managed to escape on his own through sheer willpower.
I mean,
Probably works better.
Mine does not hold a monopoly on Arpy's Pet Dragon.
No, there's also in GX, there's Alexi's friend, I forgot what she's called, which also pilots an RP deck.
But trust me, Teo. If it wasn't for the deck cost feature, this playthrough would only be 6 parts long because I would just stuff my deck with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons and Meteor Black Dragons and completely destroy everybody.
Okay, yeah, that's why it's present. Then, okay, Poison of the Old Man was printed on July 18th, 2002. Okay, then.
Yeah, it's like Jova guessed in the previous part. The primary, this would be fine if couldn't you I don't mind the deck cost system. That's like Jova said, that's a clever way of forcing the player to actually have to think about which deck he has to bring for each duel. Here's the problem. Couldn't you at least fix the major problem of your previous game of where 90% of playtime is just grinding for cards? Couldn't you at the very least give us a more convenient way of getting more cards? Instead, now you just have to defeat opponents over and over again. I mean, I guess I should be grateful that unlike the previous game, where you just get one random card every time you beat an opponent, in here you get free for that slot machine thing. But that's still not much. Like, seriously, couldn't you come up with some kind of way I can get more cards more quicker so that the game doesn't last 200 hours to beat? Go on.
Would you say that grinding is really that necessary?
Trust me, Joe, it is. Because when you start a game like this fair, you have a pretty standard, the typical kind of crappy generic deck every Yu-Gi-Oh game starts with basically, right? You can easily defeat Teo with it, but later you get to Tristan and then Joey and everything, and they generally start bringing out some powerful monsters. Not to mention, a lot of times they have fields that will give them advantage to it. That means, Joe, that in order to defeat the third or even fourth opponents of each campaign, you have to go back and beat the first opponent or to get cards. Or, of course, if you manage to get yourself a good deck of with some good number of, like I said, the key to winning these games is getting a deck full of dragons and thunder type monsters, because the fusion system of this game, in fact, I don't think I've ever explained, because I explained it back in Forbidden Memories, but it's been a long time, so I guess it's worth it to explain it again. There is no polymerization in this game. Here's how fusion works. When you're checking out your hand, you can actually pick multiple cards all at once instead of just one. What happens is, if those cards are fusible, they will fuse when you, like, let's say for example I pick Dragon Zombie, and I forgot the name of that cloud thunder monster. I forgot. The point is, let's say how about this? Let's say I have 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in my hand, right? If I pick all 3 of them, I can fuse them to fuse immediately into the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. That's it. There's a very weird fusion system that gets implemented where there's various cards that fuse with others and sometimes these fusions don't even make sense. You can fuse 2 monsters that have nothing to do with plants, and that somehow will lead into the big pumpkin monster. I forgot its name.
Unfortunately, even around the early days of the card game, there were actual official fusion monsters that had, materials that had nothing to do with the final product, like the Rata, Ranked and Yu-Gi-Oh! Poke Fun edition, one of these last videos about, for example, the Fine Gold Mammoth, I think it's called, doesn't have any type of mammoth monster as for materials, for example.
Then there were the cases where
Mind you.
fusion monsters would sometimes have less attack than some of the people that
Like
made them up.
I think Fusionist is a case like
Okay.
that. But
To give you that,
Flame Swordsman, I think.
But the point is that the fusion in this game and Forbidden Memories consider them a sort of a prototype, but with a randomizer of contact fusion, because it's basically like that.
Alright, I was looking. I was actually curious about the whole where the hell did the heart of the cards thing come from. Apparently, the 4Kids made that up, and with the, apparently meaning that the duelists can end up drawing the right card if they believe in themselves hard enough.
Yeah.
Which replaced the original Japanese version of basically hoping they get lucky and asking the goddess of luck to help them.
Yeah.
to be fair, that goddess of
Yeah,
luck.
I mean,
To be fair, that goddess of luck thing is not exactly much better. To be honest with you.
I was gonna say.
It's more.
I was gonna say the whole goddess of luck thing. I mean, how can you keep relying on luck every single time?
Yeah, I can get what they
Well,
were
to be fair, that's
going for.
exactly what happens in the anime, though. But and it's a common thing in storytelling, mostly for Japanese media. If you forgot, Final Fantasy also loves to reference that a lot of time with characters like Sid.
Anyway, I noticed, Pedro, that Tristan has you a bit on the ropes this match.
It's because that's the thing, Jova. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get him to come to me because I want to keep my field advantage. Don't worry, things will start getting heat up a bit more. But for now, might as well. Okay, let me explain this to you, just to give you a basic idea, Jova. There's a guy who on YouTube who made a review of Forbidden Memories. I even showed that review to Teo recently. And he even explained about the process of fusing. Like, to give you a basic idea, here's the thing. You apply that twin-headed Thunder Dragon strategy to get through the first 2/3 of that game. Here's the problem, Jova. Later on, when we get through that final stretch of the game where you have to beat 7 opponents in a row, here's the problem. One of them is even Seto, and for whatever reason, he has 3 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons. So obviously, twin-headed Thunder Dragon is not going to be able to beat that thing. So what do? You need to get a Meteor Black Dragon, since obviously that's one of these another easy monster you can download. So what do you need? Here's the problem, Jova. In order to get Meteor Black Dragon, you have to fuse Red Eyes Black Dragon with I forgot what the other monster was that you have to fuse it with.
One skull.
I don't.
Wait,
no. That's
Wait.
That's the
That's
thing,
what I
the
skull
same-
dragon I'm thinking
The
of.
same review mentions that he doesn't even know if someone's call is in the game or not, because of the process of grinding is being so tedious, people still to this day document about what cards are in the game and what not.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one you need to fuse with Red Eyes Black Dragon is Meteor Dragon.
That's it.
Meteor Black.
That's it. Thank you.
That said, though, doesn't that thing still have less attack points than Blue
Yes.
Eyes Ultimate
Yes.
Dragon?
Yes. The idea is that you use power-up equip cards to buff it up, basically. That's a strategy he
Man,
used. That's a strategy he used, at least. But of course,
Man, if only Dragon Master Knight was a thing, then you could totally sweep the floor with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon.
well, I can only use the cards that the game has. But so here's the problem, Jova. Guess how many times he had to beat Joey? Because okay, remember, just like in this game also does the same thing. Every time you beat an opponent in the story mode, you can go to the free duel mode to beat that same opponent that you beat in the story mode as many times as you want, so you can get cards from that character. Okay, so he went to the free duel screen to beat Jono second, aka the second time you beat Jono is the one that can give you a Red Eyes Black Dragon randomly, and the low tier Meadow Mage, if I remember correctly. Guess how many times he had to beat Jono second so that the AI would finally take mercy on him and give him 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon?
5 times.
343 times. He had to beat Jono second. 300. He did. He he had to beat Jonas Second 343 times just to get one Red Eyes Black Dragon. You're starting to see the problem here.
Why do they consider that such a rare card?
Remember, Jova, that's because every time you beat a character in these games, you just get a random card, and that's it. Like and I wouldn't be surprised if the AI is programmed so that like they only give like a 1% chance for the strongest card, because of course they would, because they're dicks. Like, it's that's the sad part about Forbidden Memories in this game, because these games are really great on paper and have some really cool, interesting ideas, but this stupid way you get cards is flat out abusive and single-handedly will turn a lot of people off from these games. Like I said, that's the main reason.
What they should do is literally give you the option to pick which card you want after each time you beat them.
Yep.
That would probably help shave off a lot of time instead of having to grind and pray to the gods you get the right cards.
I think a better compromise, Jova, you consider like by that logic.
Or you could have them, say like, well, when you beat them, then their cards are unlocked in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that too. You remember, Jova, that through a password system, you can potentially unlock any card that you want in Forbidden Memories. The catch is that you have to pay them, and the more powerful ones are expensive as hell.
Yeah. You know how in the Game Boy Advance games you can easily use the password system to get at least one of each card easily by using the password, because GameFAQs even has all the passwords there for you to use and everything. They fuck that crap up even in these games, because in these games, well, I actually haven't tried the password system in this game. Maybe the password system in this game is better, but in Forbidden Memories, every time you beat an opponent, you gain a number of stars. What are those stars? Basically, the stars are used to pay, so you can use the password system. So it's not just enough, Joe, that you have the real-life trading card. You have to also grind for stars to pay for the ability to use that password to get the card in the game. And so basically, using your real-life cards in the game, which has always been a key feature of Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games, has turned itself into its own brand of grinding. And like Theo said, if you want to put your own Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in the game, you're gonna need like 9 million stars or however many it is. Forbidden Memories clearly was made with a lot. It's a complete lack of respect for the player. I will argue. Like, what do you got to do? You got nothing better to do. Fucking stay there and duel 500 times the exact same opponent, dipshit. That's what they're telling you with that. It's a complete lack of regard for the player's time and fun factor. Like, it single-handedly ruins the game to me, because it turns what could have been two really fun and interesting Yu-Gi-Oh! Games into the most monumental, tedious slogs you ever played. It's so sad that the developers would just surely there must have been a better way to get more cards than this. Because this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it is. Like, all right. I'm also making another thing, Jova, by the way. You know what's one of the best ways of damaging your opponent life points in this game, Jova? Use cards that damage life points directly. Because there's a lot of them in this game. You can put they don't cost that much in terms of deck cost. So if you have a lot of them in your deck, you can easily just shave off your opponent's life points without even having to do much of anything. So, yeah. Alright. And there you go. Speaking of Meteor Black Dragon, here's one. Alright, since Meteor Black Dragon is super powerful, I should be able to just beat anything without even having to worry if they have field power bonus or not. So don't worry, if I remember correctly, the Tristan is almost done for. Go on, you were saying?
Fusion seems to work relatively easy here.
Oh, speaking of ritual,
you can.
There you go. Here's a ritual.
Selection of chakra.
There you go. I don't think I actually attacked that monster at one point. Yeah, he's even gonna put the monster in defense mode. Like, I think I drained Tristan of his life points before we even get to see what that ritual monster he just summoned is. So, yeah. Basically, I have my water type monster right there in the water field, just basically waiting for. I'm basically just trying to see if Tristan will actually come at me, but clearly he really wants to take his sweet time. So
that or the AI, I guess, isn't dumb enough to fall for that.
Depends, Joe. But sometimes it's like you saw. Sometimes when you corner the AI will get desperate and just start attacking your monsters at random, basically. So
again, like, to give Tristan credit, he's apparently been doing good to the point where he does have a life point advantage on you at the moment.
Don't worry, that will soon change. I have Meteor Black Dragon with me, so. Alright. It's just gonna take a bit to get to the monsters, but. Alright. What more do we have? Yeah, let's summon another Panther Warrior. Oh, sorry. Remember, you can only have 5 monsters at a time. Okay, in that case, yeah, basically this. So yeah, like I was saying, that's the one major flaw of these games, and it's so baffling that they would make the games like this, especially considering these are the only 2 Yu-Gi-Oh games, to my knowledge, that have such a shitty way of getting new cards, because most other, like the GBA games, for example, the GBA games, every time you beat an opponent, you can select a new booster pack. You know, that's better, you know, and especially considering how every booster pack always has at least 1 rare card. There you go. Let's see these animations. Oh noes. Alright, go ahead, Meteor Black Dragon.
For
the record, this card took so many years to actually be properly printed for the West. For no real reason, mind you.
For a card that effectively kind of got forgotten not too long
Not
after.
only Empower Craft, to be honest, because it's just a vanilla fusion monster.
A card. My kingdom for a card. There we are.
You know, I wonder if there's ever been a anime duel in which putting a card down blew up the duel arena.
So yeah, the effect of that monster is that if you kill it, it will respawn right near your opponent's deck leader. So now Tristan is at a point where he can attack my deck leader, but that's okay because I can easily take down that monster.
Like the card is bugged either deliberately by the player or through other means. They put the card down, and it causes a chain reaction that destroys the arena and everyone in it.
Also, while I haven't played it, the third game that concludes this quote-unquote epic trilogy, the False-Bound Kingdom on the GameCube, if I recall correctly, there's a complete different system on its own.
In what way?
I haven't seen it for myself. I remember reading some synopsis on Wikipedia and being relatively baffled by it, but I'll need to actually check it properly again. Let me see.
What exactly is Tristan's Deckmaster anyway?
I think it's the Cyber Commander, as a reference to the anime.
Yeah, usually it should be the Cyber Commander, but this one looks a bit different.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, never mind. It's a knight type monster. I don't know what.
If it wasn't for the fact that it got printed way later on, it reminds me of the manga version of the Infernity monsters. I think it's Guardian of the Labyrinth, maybe?
Probably, maybe. Alright. Let me just... There you go, fortunately. There you go. Let's move that Rabbit Horseman, and let's move... let's attack this one. There you go. Oh, look at that.
Aha.
Giant turtle who feeds on flames.
What a name. Then again, there is a monster. There is one of the early monsters that's called the Dead Which Feeds on Life. So.
Alright. What else? Fortunately, when you do start your game, when you start fighting, sorry, when you do start getting to opponents that have higher deck costs, it becomes easier to just okay, I can only have 40 cards. Let's just stuff as many powerful monsters as I can within the deck cost. Because remember, each of you starts the duel in opposite sides of the field, meaning it will be a while before either of you gets to attack, meaning I can just let the clock run, gather enough summoning points, and just summon a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon within like 3 turns. So, yeah, basically when you realize that, yeah, just stuff your deck full of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons, Meteor Black Dragons, and like as many as your deck cost will allow you. And
question. In regards to fusions in this game, do they just automatically come as their own cards, or do you still have to do some bout of fusion?
Like I said, Jova, before, it's similar to Contact Fusion, just in the fact that you activate it from your end properly. Instead, if you have 2 monsters that you think fits the requirement, just slap them together without a fusion spell and you're good to go.
Yeah.
The problem the thing is that unless you know exactly what you're looking for, it might be actually randomized.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, the game never actually explains to you. There's no way to actually learning in-game which monsters can be fused with which. You just have to experiment and just try it.
So it's literally just a bout of randomly fusing monsters, and then, if it decides, it'll give you this specific fusion monster.
It depends on the parameter, like the monster type and the attack or defense value.
Yeah, that's basically it. Again, like Lesma Khan said in his review, you'd think this would lead to, at the very least, a layer of interesting strategy where you're trying to you're experimenting various fusions, see what you can do, but. Like I said, once you find out a really incredibly super strong fusion that that quickly allows you to get a super strong monster like Thunder Dragon or something, just start using that function over and over. Just stuff your card with as many monsters leading up to that fusion as you can, and you're good. Because
it's funny because fusion in this case sounds like a precursor to synchro summoning.
These 2 games came up with their own rules, and it's just like.
And remember, Contact Fusion was a prototype for synchro summoning. So.
On that note, do they So I'm guessing you still put fusion cards in like an extra deck of sorts, or at least
No.
Remember, just taking forbidden memories. It's all the all monster types are in your deck.
Let me help with that, Java. Let's say I start the duel and I draw my hand, and there's there's a baby dragon and a time wizard in it. Okay, here's what I do. I go into my hand. I press up to select one card. Then I press up again on Time Wizard. Then I can literally immediately, right in my second turn, now that I have enough summoning points, mush immediately Baby Dragon and then Time Wizard together to immediately form Thousand Dragon, and just put it on the field right there. That's how fusion works in this game.
Of course. You also mentioned that it's a bit different with the components needed. Like, I guess you don't always need the specific monsters used in set fusion.
There are alternate ways of like I said. They're
the same type or whatnot.
An interesting thing about the fusion system of this game is that dragons in particular, for some reason, fuse with almost everything, and I don't know why dragons specifically. Like I said, Jova, as long as you have a 1500 attack or more dragon, it doesn't matter which dragon, it just has to be a dragon. If you fuse that strong dragon with any Thunder type monster, it will always lead to Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon as a result of that fusion.
I see. So that's which fusion monster you summon.
That's why I said, when you first begin these games and you're trying to beat them fairly, trying to basically stuff your deck with nothing but dragons and thunder type monsters is the key. That way you can quickly and easily summon Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon to the field and basically decimate the early opponents of the game. So, yeah. As a result, any possible experimentation you can have with the fusion system goes out the window, because why bother, right? You just find yourself a perfect fusion to use in the early bits of the game, right? Again, that's the thing about this game. This game flat out discourages experimentation.
I wouldn't say it outright discourages experimentation because it does seem like you would need to experiment to figure out what fusions get what monster here and there, and they do seem to push you to again try with this or that here and there. Like, I mean, what you're describing is more so the brute forcing your way through manner. Like, I feel like in a creative sense you can still experiment. I wouldn't say that it discourages that. I'd say the problem comes with the middle ground of needing to grind for stuff, though.
All right.
And that, you know, because you have to grind so much, you often want to try and look for just the best cards in that regard so that you can just be done.
There you go. We have defeated Tristan Gray. Alright. Fortunately, from this point on, now that we've seen enough of how the gameplay works, I'm going to start using better decks to defeat the opponents quicker next time. Alright, so first I go to Destroyer, Blocker, and Misairuzumi? Misairuzumi, okay. Alright, Teo. Hold on, go get ready. If it ever loads, go on.
I don't believe it! You beat the crap out of me! Fuck off.
And we got his Rose card. Alright, so and the next is...
I guess my...
Joey. Oh, no, it is mine.
Margaret my Beaufort. Alright.
I'm kind of surprised that Mai is on Yugi's side, all things considered. Like, it really does make me wonder who the familiar characters on Seto's side will be.
Don't worry, Jova. We'll do the Lancastrian campaign after, so we'll see for ourselves. All right, see you for the next part, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.